And we're live. Um, Haddow. We were able to get him on. He went on with all the federal and local bans and everything going on. He agreed to come on for a little while, give us his time, and answer any questions that anybody might have. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Mac, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, even though I just called you Matt.
That's all right. I'm glad to, and I'm glad to be on with true kratom advocates who really do understand the differences between the products that are on the marketplace that are causing all of these problems, both at the federal and the state level, and at the local level, frankly. So it's as much as I can do, and we can do together to help inform people, to educate them, and to show this difference. It's critically important, and so I'm glad to be here. And so thank you for the invitation.
You're very welcome. So, even though I know that you travel a lot, when you travel, we're kind of like behind you guys, in the internet space. So even though you're having to travel to all these different airports and going to all these different hotels and all these different meetings, we're kind of there. Like I said, we're kind of there with you. Like if a hearing takes 6 hours to get to, we're here watching it, waiting for that kratom part to get up there.
Yeah.
So not only do you have to do the physical part, we're over here doing the mental and emotional strain of dealing with, all these hearings that are popping off.
Sure.
And we know that these are all happening because of 7OH.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here if it weren't for 7-0. And I mean, I can say it here in Tennessee, like every legislator that I've been able to talk to, I get it off the shelves in Tennessee. We want it off the shelves. I'm just so sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
And
like,
yeah, I think the unfortunate part is that you've got an industry that, and I'm calling it, and I'm going to continue to call it the big 7OH con, because from the beginning, when they entered the marketplace, they didn't have the required science, as we all know, under federal law. So they just bypass that, and you get these ridiculous explanations that are offered from people like Michelle Ross, who will sit there and say, "Oh, well, we had the same basis of safety as kratom did when it first entered the marketplace." That is simply not true, because 7OH was a chemical reformulation of the naturally occurring levels of 7OH. You can't get to the levels of even a single pill of 7OH. It would take hundreds of pounds of consuming regular kratom leaf to get to that one tablet. They had to chemically reformulate it. And for her to suggest and offend everyone with this nonsense, oh, we're the same safety record as kratom had. That's not true. A chemical reformulation, heavily concentrated, entry into the marketplace required that by federal law that they have to meet that standard. And she bypasses that, explains it, excuses it, and lies about it all in the same breath. Unbelievable to me. And then she then goes further and says, and has literally testified, said, well, 7OH was cleared by the 8 factors in 2016 and 18 as not being schedulable. She's talking about the trace amounts of 7OH that occur naturally in the kratom plant that were evaluated by the DEA both in 2016 and then by HHS Secretary Jawad in 2018, and they were rejected. But not if 7OH had been the product that was being evaluated at that time, it would have been scheduled. And for her to
Yeah.
suggest otherwise is disingenuous, it's dishonest, and yet that's what they do. It's part of the big con that they've done. And then when they came on the market, did they tell people, oh, well, this is not kratom. This is a chemical reformulation of a metabolite of the kratom plant that naturally occurs in the drying process. Did they tell them that? No. They
No.
said kratom. They stole the marketplace. They deceived consumers. And then they want to say today, oh, it's just a turf war. No, it's a safety war. It's a chemically reformulated, highly concentrated, unsafe opioid versus the natural plant. And for those apologists who are in the marketplace today who will buy that nonsense, and I will include Madeline Sklar and her group of kratom gals who say, oh, we're not for 7OH. Yes, they are, by virtue of them saying that we're not against it either. The idea that you are a libertarian and you say, well, people should be able to make their own choices. They should be able to make their own choices among products that are safely formulated and that meet the federal standards for market entry. And 7OH did not do that. And these propagandists out there, like Michelle Ross, who are trying to sell this nonsense to people, is just offensive. And for Madeline Sklar and the others on her program that try to play, oh, we're just trying to hear both sides. She was on the advocacy webinar for the 7OH people the other day. That's not an unbiased source. That's not. Now she could say, I'm just gathering information. She can make whatever excuses necessary, but she crossed the line with me when on February 14th, she did their podcast, and it was clear they were doing two things. One, they were apologizing for 7OH. Secondly, they were openly criticizing, unfairly, by the way, advocates in the marketplace. And they had Robin Graham on, and she's on telling her story about her new organization and how, she's really disappointed at the lack of advocacy. When you sit in Ohio and you see the dozens and dozens of advocates, and I see it replicated across the country, the advocates are not the problem here. The problem is, scheduling. Sometimes these legislative hearings are not announced until the day before. There's those kinds of issues, but there's not a lack of advocacy. And for Robin, who lives in Montana, forms this new organization, obviously criticizing the AKA and generally advocates, and say we need to reinvigorate them. I was in several legislative hearings in Montana advocating for the KCPA. And if I look to my right, would I see Robin Graham, or look to my left? No, she wasn't there. And she lives in Montana, and she wants to lecture advocates. Why weren't you there? And then there were several hearings that were held with the Board of Pharmacy and with the interim committees that were virtual. What does it take to do that except get on your computer and join? Was Robin Graham there? No,
we were there.
Hey, I wish Tennessee had virtual.
Yeah.
I mean, this idea that she would point the bony finger of blame at advocates to say, you just need, and this is her words, get off your butt. Okay, well, she didn't even have to get off her butt to be on a virtual hearing in Montana. She didn't do it. And so I'm sorry. I've told people openly, and I've always, I may not make friends doing it, but I've always been straight up with people. She's out of bounds. And for her to try to create a group, and I have no idea why she's doing it. I suppose she's raising money. Maybe it's for the money. I don't know. But it certainly isn't because it's for the good of the order, because we are in a battle. And the battle, and when she's asked about 7OH, she says, well, I really don't have an opinion about 7OH. We're not advocating for 7OH. Well, guess what? If you are a Kratom supporter, you have an opinion about 7OH. It is ruining this industry. It is ruining the opportunity for consumers to have access to safely formulated natural leaf kratom products. And that's what's happening. And she can't hide behind this. Oh, I'm not one way or another. We're not advocating for it. When you're sitting on a panel of people that are apologists for the 7OH industry, you're advocating for it. So if you don't speak.
Sorry to cut you off, but we see it on the front lines every day.
Yeah.
The destruction that 7OH is causing. Not only do we see it on our social medias, in our private messages, we see it in the over 200 hearings that we've attended and or testified at since the July 29th, press conference that the FDA, DEA, and HHS did. After that press conference was when all of these locality hearings started popping off like crazy. It's like popcorn started popping everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And it's like all you hear in these hearings is, Poison Control Center calls have went up 200%. On kratom calls, ER visits, rehab facilities. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out if it's been in the last 2 years, it's not kratom, it's 7OH that people have been sold under the guise of it being kratom.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so simple. It's not hard. It's not hard.
And then when they're questioned further, the city council members or board of health members will say, well, when they go do their checks in their communities, like the smoke shops or gas stations, they will say, well, 7OH is there. They say that kratom was pushed out and 7OH was pushed in. That's
Yeah.
what replaced their shelves.
And I know that's like, oh, that's 7OH talking point. Oh, well, you know, the kratom industry, it's just a battle of money. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Like, are you serious? Like, I don't know. It shouldn't be available until we know it's safe. And I'm sorry, but it's not a safe product. It's not a safe product.
Like this TikTok video I made yesterday, because I will proudly say that I hate 7OH.
Yeah.
I don't hate the user. I
Right.
hate 7OH. You know, and I said we were doing, you know, kratom was the ship that was sailing just fine prior to September 2023 when 7OH was mass produced to the public then. You know, now 7OH has been the anchor dragging that ship.
Yeah.
Ever since then.
It's just been a weight pulling it down, just pulling it down.
And you know,
It's just,
of course, if you don't take the time, energy, and effort to attend these hearings that we do, you're not gonna, you know, you're gonna have a stance of, oh, you know, it's okay, you know, I have no, you know, since you're talking about Madeline, you know, it's like you're not seeing what we're seeing. Yeah, it's okay if your friends are taking 7OH and yes, they're being responsible with it. Okay, fine. But you're not seeing what we are seeing.
oh, hey,
Well,
little brother.
and the truth is, if you look at the CDC report that was just published, the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, and I know the lazy journalists are now pointing to it saying this is all kratom. If you look at the specific language in that report, it says that they had the most significant increase in kratom exposure reports in 2025. And they said specifically the large increase in 2025 coincides with the emergence of high potency semi-synthetic formulations, including 7OH. Now, this is where it becomes bizarre that the journalist will say one thing and all the anti-kratom people are leaping on this.
Yeah.
But it's a 7OH. And you'll see the imposters like Michelle Ross who will sit back and try to excuse it. Like, oh no, it's not. 7OH is helping people. I mean, what nonsense. And then try to say it's an industry turf war. No, it's a safety battle. And that's proven there when you get that kind of exposure report. And by the way, that's all this is an exposure report. But when you get that many calls with this many people that are, you know, saying, hey, I'm concerned about the impacts of a substance that my family member took, then you see there's a problem, because that jump attributable to 7OH is the problem. And I think that anyone who wants to put their head in the sand and not understand the reality of what we're confronting as consumers doesn't understand the marketplace at all. And to try to make excuses, to try to say, I'm a libertarian, let them do what they want. I'm all for that if it's safe.
Right.
There is no evidence that 7OH has any safety profile other than what Commissioner McCary said. It is a full-blown opioid in the way that it's chemically re-engineered. It is re-engineered to be an opioid, give you that fast high, fast crash, cravings, you're back, you're addicted to it within a week or two. But here, it was interesting in the congressional hearing, was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. The one question was asked of one of the experts, and he said the sublingual products are especially problematic. And what did the 7OH people do? The products that are being championed by the 7OH industry, they found that the first pass metabolism products weren't giving the kinds of effects that were different from kratom as big as they wanted. And so they made sublingual tablets and strips. You stick them under your tongue, go right to your bloodstream, hit your mu opioid receptors, and you're then addicted. That's it. And all of the damaging and unsafe practices associated with those kinds of chemical re-engineered product are the problem. When they testify, they say, and Michelle Ross has done it, oh, well, we don't make those products anymore. 2 days after she said that, I bought MGM 1415, I bought sublingual strips, I bought sublingual tablets, I had them delivered to the offices of the American Kratom Association. So nobody's screaming. And this is the joke that we're in. And yet that woman will stand up and she'll say to, she said to the Arizona hearing I was in 2 days ago, and she said, I'm the most experienced 7OH researcher in the country. Well, I'm sorry. Show me the first peer-reviewed article that you published.
I
Not your
I can say this, the thing that she keeps referencing was like literally a survey that she took of like 1100 7OH that they passed around on like social media and Reddit and stuff. That's what she keeps referencing.
Yeah.
Dude, that is not any holds no scientific data whatsoever. Just have to say
I,
that.
I have grandkids that could do that survey.
Yeah.
Survey. A
Yeah.
science survey. You just buy a software package, you put out the questions. Now, do you properly evaluate the results? And that's what they're pitching, right? And all those results say is this is what people are using it for. I don't doubt that high percentage of 7OH consumers are using it for perceived health benefits. They think it's helping them, right? But yet you look at the number of people and they like to say, oh, there's not been a single death attributed to 7OH. There's been no addiction surveys. That's because it's a new product. And a lot of people think they're taking kratom and they're reporting it as kratom when it's actually 7OH. And they also like to say, oh, we're not calling it kratom anymore. Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Big kratom alkaloids. Give me a break. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the kind of deception, and that's why I call it the Great 7OH Con, because they con the consumers when they first went on the market, and now they're conning public officials, legislators, congressional people, and local government officials by saying, oh, our product's the same as kratom. It's safe. It's no problem. Has the same safety profile. It's nonsense. And it's about time we called them out on it. And that's why I have no compunction. I was friends with Madeline Sklar before, but she crossed the line. And let me just tell you quickly what the conditions were. I watched her our February 14th podcast, and I reached out to her and I said, I'd like to come on just to give my opinion and make some corrections about things that were said. And immediately she got defensive and said, well, give me the timestamp on the video. I said, I don't have time to go through because it was throughout the video. It wasn't one specific thing. It was many. She goes, well, then we'll have a phone call and I'll get the other kratom gals on and we'll record it. For what purpose? No, I have no problem with that. She was just trying to herself. I said, why don't you let me come on? No, you're not coming on. And I've gotten on the last, not today, obviously, but I'm with you where I should be. But I was on the last couple and I pinged her and said, why don't you let me come on? Why don't you let me talk? And, she's not going to, because guess what? I'm persona non grata now. Why? Because I'm willing to call them out. Truth to power. Right. They are 7OH apologists. And she says she's not making any money from the 7OH industry. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But I can tell you there's no reason to be advocating for 7OH when you see the safety profile, when you've got experts saying that this is an engineered, chemically manipulated opioid, and it's destroying the natural kratom leaf marketplace because they've deceived consumers. I have no time for that, no use for it. And that's why I was so vocal about it.
Well, and my thing is, you're one thing I like about you is you're always open to open discussion, and you have it in a live context like this, so that there can be no misinterpretations, no. And I respect that. I'd rather somebody be truthful and honest than gossiping behind, closed doors and saying whatever. But yeah, I mean, 95% of people that, have turned to 7OH have problems, even whether it be addiction or people using it for chronic pain. They start seeing it's not lasting very long. And I hear horror story after horror story after horror story every single day.
Every single day.
And I'm sorry, but I cannot and will not ever advocate.
It breaks my heart. And, it's like we're facing a federal scheduling. And I get private messages all the freaking time. Like right now, Kansas is in that battleground. Tennessee's in the battleground. And I get people freaking out. And I don't know why it's trying to make me tear up. I don't know what to tell them other than to continue to write to their representatives, because there's like this person just commented on my YouTube video today, talk about there's a 71-year-old woman. She's a caregiver and she lives in Kansas. And it's like,
here in Tennessee, there's a lot of people that aren't. I mean, I've barely made it to the Capitol. Like I'm still I'm like barely making it here. But it's like there's so many people that depend on, natural kratom products and they can't make it to the Capitol. They can't, and it seems like it's hopeless for them. They're really scared. I mean, they're really scared.
Well,
It's sad.
let me give you an update about those two. First, in Tennessee, on Tuesday there is a finance committee hearing. Now, they typically do not accept testimony. In the past, they have not. They apparently, we think, are willing to do this time, and I'm going to be there on Tuesday to address the fiscal note. The fiscal note that was approved, submitted as approved with the legislation that was the Davenport bill, was understated by many magnitudes in this regard. They relied upon the SAMHSA research study, which was a survey that is highly tilted to those people that use it only for opioid cessation. And so it is a very narrow group of people. And from that, they estimated that the number of kratom consumers in the United States would translate to about 38,000 Tennessee consumers. We know that number is 500 and I think it's 60,000 people. So they underestimated by 13 times. But they drive the fiscal impact number. They look at how much sales tax revenue will be lost from this ban. And they estimated a number at $1.2 million, right? So the governor funded the enforcement actions and the fiscal losses to the state at $1.2 million. But the real number is for the state is over $10 million. And the real number for the localities' loss of sales tax revenue is $5 million. So those two things are dramatically different, and the state cannot afford them. And so what's going to happen when reality hits? They're going to see that significant loss of revenue. They proportionally misstated, because of this bad estimate, the enforcement cost and the incarceration costs that come with all of this. So substantially underestimated. We're going to make that claim and pitch with documentation that shows why the SAMHSA study results, survey results, were not accurate, because they are focused on a narrow slice of the kratom community and the purpose for which kratom consumers in that category are using it, and make it more realistic. And I think that when the governor sees that, hopefully when the legislature sees it, they're going to say, whoa, it's time for us to rethink this. And hopefully the governor will see it and say, I can't afford that. None of us can in this state. And we have legitimate scientific evidence about that particular research-based evidence about the defects in the SAMHSA research study or survey about the number of kratom consumers. So that's going to be our pitch, and we think it will carry the day in Tennessee.
You know, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you know what else you could throw in there is imagine how many of those people might be Medicaid patients. If they get kratom taken away, how many they're going to have to go charge Medicaid to go back to the doctors.
So that's the second piece of this. If you use their data from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health Services about the cost per patient for people addressing acute and chronic pain issues, even those related to substance abuse issues, the number goes to $1.1 billion impact on Tennessee using their numbers per patient cost. So somewhere between the reality of $1.1 billion, and even if you accept, maybe that's overstated by 10%. Think about it. This is amazing that this is the kind of discussion that's taking place. So that's part of our fiscal note presentation, that they didn't even consider the impact on the medical cost and the substance abuse treatment cost. And Dr. Joie, in his analysis, in withdrawing the application for scheduling from the FDA in 2018, specifically says that when he did the evaluation, that when you ban kratom, you will force people off of kratom onto these other substances that have the associated risks that are associated with substance abuse treatment and overdoses. So this is well documented. And if the state of Tennessee isn't willing to listen to a Trump appointee who is a established medical expert and a medical doctor, then I don't know what to tell them. Rather than listening to a mother, and probably more appropriately, the actual sponsor of the bill, who doesn't care, because we know that the mother acknowledges that the death of her son really was from an overdose of Benadryl. Kratom just happened to be present in the system. The idea that they would blame Kratom, it's politically expedient for Hilton Hayes to do that. It's wrong. It's factually wrong. It's intellectually bankrupt. But because it's popular to do, she's going to do it. So I think that that's the other thing that's ignored in this, is that the impetus for this. And I have heard leadership in the Tennessee legislature say, "Oh, well, Esther's a wonderful person, and she's never really asked us for anything, so we want to give her this." Well, giving her that for whatever reason, and that's a lousy reason, is not appropriate. And it should be based on the actual financial impact on the citizens of Tennessee. And so we're going to be there arguing and fighting for it. It's the way that we're going to make this battle real for people. And we'll see. Hopefully that'll play out where they'll listen to us, and certainly we hope the governor will listen to us, even if this legislation gets through the legislature. In Kansas, we have an interesting situation in that the very same procedure that was used in Connecticut to slip in the ban bill at the last minute happened there. We had gotten good traction with good education with the legislators, and then the people in power over the Controlled Substances Committee, they want another notch in their belt. They slipped in kratom. So we're going to go to the governor and make our case. And we've had conversations with her staff. They're interested. They want to hear the truth about it. So I think and given the debate that occurred on the House floor in Kansas and the vote that was relatively close there, the bottom line is that it's not, if the veto is issued, they can't override the veto. So we're going to pitch the governor on the facts about the kratom and how it benefits the people of Kansas. And hopefully she'll listen to us and appropriately veto that bill. And then let the legislature thrash around if they choose, but I don't think they have the votes to override it. So.
And like I say this all the time, it's because of 7-OH. In all my years of advocacy, we have not had to fight this hard. The last time we had to fight this hard was pretty much just to get people to comment on the World Health Organization thing that happened in 2021. But other than that, we were doing just fine.
Yeah.
Legislation hearings pop off between like January and June. And so that would be the time that I would, make time. I say this all the time. I make time to do what I do. I ain't even going to talk about the other thing that you were talking about earlier. I forgot what I was even saying. Oh, yeah. So whenever we used to watch the hearings, from January to June, it would be few and far in between. But now it's just one right after another, after another, after another. Not only are we dealing with states, we're dealing with cities and counties, boards of health.
It's just because so many people have been negatively impacted by 7-OH. And so, when you're negatively impacted by something, you're going to, tell your story, or, and you're going to, the news is going to make headlines about how kratom is bad. And, you're going to, it's just, that's how it is. And it's like, that is why we are here.
What's up, Wayne? He says the letter that the 11 senators sent will probably be denied by the DEA because they have the 8-factor analysis to go by. But are they really going to try to take scheduling from the DEA and do it themselves?
Okay, so there are two issues here. One, the legislature does have the ability to on their own schedule substances, and so the Congress can do that. It's rarely done, and certainly they consider, they're not required to, but they'll consider what the 8 factors are because that's the Controlled Substances Act that they themselves passed. The letter that the 11 senators sent was actually to FDA Commissioner McCary, asking him to schedule both kratom. They did not address this to the DEA, and it's an interesting distinction, but an important one, because these 11 senators were not saying that the DEA should do this. They want the FDA to do it and follow the appropriate procedures. Good news there, the FDA has. The FDA has already evaluated whether natural kratom leaf products should be scheduled, and they've determined that it doesn't meet the 8-factor criteria. So that's good news. On the other side of that equation, you have Gus Bilirakis' bill, the representative from Florida, who wants to schedule 7-OH. And that's clearly a result of the failure of the DEA to act yet.
Yeah.
They've had that recommendation for scheduling of 7-OH since July of last year. It's taken a long time. I know that it's complicated by the way that they would handle a follow-on synthetics beyond 7-OH, like the pseudodoxil. Now they've got a bunch of new categories of 70-80, the pseudodoxils and 70-80. Now they got MGM 15-16. So I know that the DA is trying to figure out a way that they can capture as many of those as they can when they do the scheduling. But the good news in that messaging is, and they've sent messages back to Congressman Pocan, to a number of congressmen have asked, and we've gotten copies of the letter, and they responded to me with a letter saying, we're evaluating how we can do this. And so the good news is they're not saying we're not going to do it. We're just trying to figure out how we are the most protective. But they're taking too long to do that. And so I think that Congressman Bilirakis' bill is designed to prompt them. And I think if they don't move, then that'll get traction along with those other substances that were part of the hearing that the Congress had in the Energy and Commerce Committee. So I think that's good news. They're focusing on it. It's drawing attention. It's interesting the way people see and hear and then try to translate what happens. I understand the 7-OH people were saying, wow, we dodged a bullet. They didn't dodge a bullet. They got the focus right on them. And now we're going to see more recurring increased evaluations of what's happening in the 7-OH space. So they can claim some Pyrrhic victory because the committee didn't vote, but they weren't going to vote on this yesterday or the day before. So this is on Thursday. So this is just the slapping lipstick on a pig. The 7-OH people are selling a dangerous product. It is an opioid. It is chemically engineered to be attractive to kids. Sublingual strips, sublingual tablets. It's designed to addict you. It is the purpose of it. And for them to suggest in any way that they're doing something great, and I hear the manufacturers of 7-OH say, "Oh no, this is a good product. It's saving people's lives, and now it's helping to reduce the opioid crisis, the opioid death." Here's the really good one. Michelle Ross, who doesn't like it that I don't call her a doctor. I told her when she starts acting like one, I'll call her a doctor. I do not mean to be disrespectful, but I'll tell you, she needs to earn the respect. And when she continues to distort and manipulate and misstate the science, enough of it. But she's saying openly that she has data that suggests in Florida that when the advent of 7-OH came in, they had a significant reduction in opioid overdose deaths. That is not true. She has a screenshot from some opinion expressed by some law enforcement official who made an observation that he thinks something, and yet she touts that as science. So much for her doctor role, right?
Wait. I thought she says, because at the hearings that we watched, she says that when Florida scheduled 7-OH, that the overdose deaths went up 300%.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is, the numbers aren't even out that much. I mean, that often.
There is no data, zero data. And they said the same thing about West Virginia. This is craziness. And they, when they said and that's what I meant to say. In West Virginia, they say, well, when 7-OH got banned, that you had this spike in opioid deaths. Same thing in Florida. It is not true. It is false information. It is incorrect analysis. It is not good evidence. And yet she will tout it under her banner of being a PhD and the most qualified researcher in 7-OH in the world, or in the United States, she says anyway. Not true. And so I think that when she tries to make those kinds of connections, that it has to be with good data, and it can't be, just sort of spiking it off of a screenshot that someone expresses an opinion. I can make up a screenshot and send it out to her. Maybe she'll use it. And
Wait, so where'd the
but
screenshot come from?
she
Was it
claims
about
it was a law enforcement.
what? No, was it about the Florida overdose deaths going up 300% when
Yes.
Florida scheduled 7OH? Because
Yes.
I haven't seen no data on that at all.
Yeah, I try to look for it myself. I try to even look for like I can't remember exact, but it's like pretty much you can't find it because the numbers haven't been generated.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's not been
Yeah, so-
compiled.
Right. So here's the truth. The reason you can't find it, the reason I can't find it, is because it has not yet been published. And yet she'll tout it as being, oh, it's there. It's the truth because somebody sent me a screenshot. The most experienced researcher on 7OH in the country. What a joke. And yet she wants to peddle this nonsense. And, I have no problem calling her out. Now, she's not on my Christmas card list, or I'm not on hers. I saw her in Arizona and she wouldn't even look at me. I said hello to her and she ignored me. We need to stand up and we need to protect consumers. That's what it's about. It's not about who's right or wrong in their opinions. It's about what data shows us. And that's the challenge that all of us have. And we get into this battle and we can have disagreements and we can even have our own opinions. I said this at the Kratom conference in Florida a couple of months ago when I made my presentation, that there are scientists who are expressing opinions about what they think as opposed to being grounded specifically in the data. And I challenged them on it because they can have their opinions about where kratom should be sold, but their science doesn't document what that answer is. They just are expressing their opinions. So opinions can clash with the reality. And I specifically had a conversation with one of the scientists after my presentation where he wasn't real happy with what I said. And I said, well, here's the problem. You're sitting here telling me that kratom should not be available in gas stations or convenience stores. I said, that's your opinion. I get that. But Norvolco says that it should be readily accessible to any person who needs to have access to it rather than an opioid. And if they can get it in a convenience store, great, because there are people that are involved in substance abuse treatment needs that are never going to go to a treatment center because of the stigma. That's her words. She said, she said there are people that will not be able to get access to a bed because of the stigma. There are people that even if they can, if they're willing to go, they can't afford it. I mean, this is the problem we have in this opioid crisis in America. Mm-hmm. And yet this scientist I spoke to was actually pretty respectful. And he said, it's a good point. He said, and I'm going to consider it going forward. He hasn't considered it enough yet because I heard him repeat the same nonsense about where it should be sold. The point of sale is not the problem here. The problem here is whether the product is safely formulated and properly labeled. That's it. And then an informed consumer can make a choice about what they want and what they don't want for maintaining their health and well-being. It shouldn't be someone sitting in some ivory tower somewhere telling them their opinion about whether they should or shouldn't do something. In an ideal world, and I had 6 children and I gave advice to my children, some of it not very good advice in retrospect, but I had the power to tell them one way or another while they're 18. Once they're 18, they can do what they want. So we need to understand that these consumers are over 18 and they have a right to make their own informed decisions going forward. And enough of this trying to be the nanny state and figuring out how we consume these products. Now, safely formulated, properly labeled, those are the standards. Age gated, those are the standards. Then people can make their decisions.
Let me tell you from my 11 years of active addiction standpoint, right? So I used to go through withdrawals every single month because I would run out of my pills early. And if I couldn't find my drug dealers that had pills, I would just lock myself up in my room. Not once did I ever think to myself, let me call a recovery center and see if I could get in there. Not once. Because your mind is going a million miles a minute about where can I go get my next fix, right? Yeah. So if I knew that kratom was even a thing on this earth, I probably would have walked into a gas station and went and bought it, Yeah. if I saw, I didn't get on, I wasn't on social media till 2018. My active addiction years were 2008 to 2019. So I didn't even know Kratom was even a talked about thing. I didn't know it was a thing at all. And if I had saw like, oh, this person's over there on YouTube or on TikTok or on Facebook talking about, these products can help you with opioid withdrawals, I probably would have marched right in there and got one, But this is how Kratom saved me. Was I was in the middle of my withdrawal in June of 2019. And I watched the documentary Leap of Faith. At that time, it was on Netflix. And that's how I walked into the smoke shop the next day. That's how I start my journey with Kratom. So I get and I understand that people get mad saying that, Kratom shouldn't be sold in gas stations, in smoke shops and all that stuff. It should be online only or in storefronts, brick and mortars, all that stuff. But someone like me who was in active addiction, that was not my mindset at all. To be like, oh, let me call this recovery center, see if they can take me in and help me with my withdrawals. No, none of that happened.
Yeah.
Well,
And I mean,
I'll
the
tell you,
whole save the kids, we're selling it to minors. My thing is like, if gas stations or smoke shops are selling to kids, fine them. Let that be for the state. Let that be
yeah.
for the city. You know what I mean? Common sense.
Amen. Amen. And so up in Rhode Island, the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, which repeals the ban and takes effect here April 1st. Representative McGaugh, who is a pharmacist, strongly anti-Kratom. She put in a bill that even though under the negotiated Kratom Consumer Protection Act in Rhode Island with the governor and the Department of Health and all the other regulatory executive agencies, we agreed they would be behind the counter. She wants it behind the counter under lock and key in a case. And I went up and testified about how ridiculous that was because she doesn't have the slightest bit of evidence to show that there's any significant problem with shoplifting of Kratom products. And in fact, whether kids even want them or like them is another issue. But she puts this in. Now, I reminded the speaker up there that when I was up there a year ago, when we were negotiating and working on getting the bill passed, Michelle McGaugh came into the committee and was strongly anti-Kratom. And I was out in the hallway, and she made the point during her testimony, we don't have sufficient research and information. And so I saw her in the hallway. I said, I am willing to send you the more than 350 peer-reviewed published articles that were funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And she turned to me in a very nasty tone and said, there's nothing you can send me that will change my mind. Now, that's true.
A pharmacist said that? A pharmacist representative.
Yeah. She's nothing you can send me that will change my mind. Absolutely true, because she's closed-minded about it. It doesn't mean it's right. And she said it again in the hearing that there's not enough science on this. And then she had the absurdity to put out a press release saying, well, we have to protect kids from shoplifting. What in the hell is she talking about? I mean, there are laws about that. And, if a store owner is not going to let a kid come in and shoplift a product because it's going out the door and they've already paid for it. I mean, and if you find a kid shoplifting, then arrest them. I mean, this is just nonsense. But
I mean, the uptick that we've seen in burglaries and shoplifting is from 70H.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
The news is calling it Kratom, but when you read further in the article or they'll show the shot, of the video camera footage, it's 70H.
There's been city council members there's been policemen, like there's a problem. Like there is a huge problem with that.
Like ain't nobody gonna
why?
Huh?
Why do kids go after 70H rather than
so fancy, and because
it tastes like fruit, I guess.
It gets you high.
Yeah.
It gives you that euphoria the kids are seeking, and it crashes hard, and then you crave it and you get it back again, and you're on the addiction. That's why. And kids don't like the taste of natural leaf kratom. They don't like the fact that it doesn't do anything for them in terms
Oh,
of.
they'd be so disappointed. Oh,
Yeah.
so disappointed. It's definitely not a party drug like
I've
708.
said this
Like,
before. I said if some teenager was out there thinking they're going to get high on kratom and then they take kratom and then they sit down and play their video games, they're just going to be a master at the video game because it's going to make them focus in on what they're doing. You know, they're not going to get high and nod off and no, it's so boring.
Hey
it
guys,
is.
I got to jump. But first, let me just say thank you to both of you. You are fabulous advocates, deeply honored and appreciated by the kratom community.
Thank you,
And
Mac.
the most important thing, you've been honest with the people that are listening, and that's what we need and want, and grateful for what you're doing and the advocacy and the work that you're doing and doing all these hearings so that people are informed about them. They get to hear what's going on. I'm very grateful to you. So thank you so much.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome,
Mac.
Mac.
Thank you for everything you do.
All right. Hey, thank you. See you guys
Have
later.
a great day.
Bye, Mac.
You too. Bye.
Oh, that was my mom's doorbell rang in the middle.
Oh, I was like, what? I was like,
Well, that was cool. That was nice.
yeah. I tell you what, you know what? I am proud. Like I said, I am proud to say that I hate 7OH. I am not ashamed to say that. I don't care. You could attack me. You could talk about me. You gossip about me. You could think about me before you go to sleep. You think about me when you take it to shit. I don't care. Because what we do as advocates, as like you said, true kratom advocates, is we pay attention to what's going on in legislation. You know, we're not out here trying to be vendor sponsored. We're not vendor sponsored. And we choose to not be vendor sponsored because when you are and you make any type of money from kratom, that opens you up to being included in lawsuits. Because you cannot be making medical and health claims. You're violating commercial speech laws. There's so much legality behind being vendor sponsored. You know, so
yeah, Deborah, one of the legislators we talked to didn't even know there was a difference. I think that guy right there, like, he was super cool. Like, we talked to him for 20 minutes. Not only did he not realize that there was a difference between 7OH and kratom, he didn't realize that normal people like me and Deborah took it. Like, he was astonished. Like, he was astonished, you know, to know that we were up there. And I mean, it was eye-opening, you know, but he was very receptive. And I think a lot of legislators would be like that if they just listened to normal people, you know. But and Gabrielle, let me see, did you guys, we did touch on Kansas, or he did.
yeah.
You'll have to go back and after this is over, if you go back and because I can't remember everything that was said. I'm sorry.
All I know is that they're going to be going, trying to get the governor to veto it now.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the next game plan. So we just got to wait for like further instruction from the AKA, like whenever they do an email blast or something. So next stop is the governor. But he said something about, what did he say? Something about, man, I don't know. You're going to have to rewind it, Gabriella. It's nice seeing you. Normally I just see you over there on X. That's not the overdose deaths we're talking about. We're talking about something that's been recently said
like
from the 7OH.
super recent. Yeah. Like within the past like year.
Yeah. Whenever the state of Florida emergency scheduled 7OH, the 7OH industry are going into these legislation hearings and saying that the overdose deaths increased by 300%. And I, for the life of me, have been trying to find that data. There is no data. It takes a while to compile data like that.
It's like, I don't even think data like that comes out the next year. I think it takes a couple of years.
It definitely does not come out the month after 7OH was scheduled.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, it's like with Tennessee, I feel like they're not going to listen to us unless we're right in their face. Honestly, I really don't.
I feel like that's going to be, I feel like I don't have a good feeling about Tennessee.
I don't either.
And I feel like it's going to be another one of those situations like, right now with Kansas that y'all going to have to get to the governor.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's like, it's like I almost wish I knew what the best thing to do was because, like it seems like each trip to Nashville has like deteriorated me.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like the
know.
first one, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. And the second one, I was like, oh, shit. And this last one, I'm like, oh, God.
The thing about Jen is she's not an able-bodied person like most of us might be. She's actually disabled.
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, it is. And I pay for it. Like last time, I don't even think I was feeling like myself for almost two. Like until it was time to leave to go again. But it's like I know that there's so many people out there in Tennessee that literally don't have that option. Like they can't even go. And so, I'm going for those people. Like I'm
Yeah.
going for everybody that either can't go or has no idea it's happening.
And I tell you what, the Tennessee state legislator is not what do you call it? Americans with disability.
It is not. I'm telling you, it needs to be. Yeah, me and Deborah, boy, we was a team.
Yeah, y'all was the Kane team.
Oh, you should have seen us. I mean, but it was cool. I had the best time with Deborah. Like we went around from office to office and you know, she dropped her cane, I dropped my cane, But I mean, I say we did a pretty good job. We did an awesome job that day.
But they are not like disabled friendly at the Tennessee State Legislature because there's no virtual testimony, and like I said, Jen has to drive like 3-4 hours to get there, being disabled on top of that, and then having to walk around with her pimp cane in the building, and it's like it's almost done on purpose. Like how come people
and then they have it so soon, like each week like that. And I mean, that's also juggling around everything I have at home. Like I've got a kid still in school. I've got, I'm running a house over here. And so it's like, I hate to, but I mean, I don't know. It's like, if I knew for sure, I almost feel like it just doesn't matter to me, and it's like, do I even matter? But I know that sometimes we as advocates, especially, feel like that. And every now and then, like I got a message this morning saying something about, me and Misty. And I was like, you know what? I needed that message today. Like I needed that today. Cause I feel like, sometimes we just feel like, are we just doing this for no reason?
No. I never feel like we're doing this for no reason. It's like our whole goal is to help someone, catch that advocacy bug,
Yeah. Oh, my little brother, he came with me the first time to Nashville. I stayed with him the morning or the night before. It's much easier if I stay somewhere the night before.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I think he got a little bite of the advocacy bug. I hope he gets to go. If I get to go one more time, but I hope I get up there on his off day. Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, we had a lot of fun though, me and Deborah. I hopefully we'll get to do it again. I feel like if we give it one more good push and everybody in Tennessee, as many as we can, show up and just kind of spread out and talk to, I mean, because they're like, if you got to put yourself in their shoes, they're only hearing about 30 minutes of testimony and half of it's made up shit from an addiction doctor that has no clue what he's talking about. And so, they're not hearing everyday stories. Yes,
you're absolutely correct, Michael.
Completely.
Absolutely correct.
I will never stand behind 70H. I mean, if people want to use it, that's fine, but I refuse to advocate for it.
And just know that if you're using it, you're contributing to the downfall of kratom. So you need to think about that next time you pop that fruit flavored chemical. I will not support it, and I don't understand why there's kratom advocates that are sitting on the fence supporting both ways. Like what? I don't
Yeah, right
understand
now.
I don't understand that there's vendors that are sitting on the fence supporting both ways. Like what?
And I'm glad you did not because I don't know. There's just no telling. I've just heard so many horror stories of people starting 7OH thinking it was Kratom.
Yeah. There was no informed consent when 7OH was mass produced to the public.
Yeah, I will never. Like I even thought about buying 7OH before I went to the last hearing to show the difference between like powder and I was like, I won't even spend a
Time.
penny on it for that. I will dig through the trash at a damn 7-Eleven before I spend a penny on it.
I'm sure you can find an empty blister pack somewhere around a smoke shop or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the other thing we hear about on, these smoke shop workers. We hear about people will stand in line around the block till the smoke shop opens up to go in there and get their damn 7OH. And I am like, that is not kratom behavior.
And then they'll come back multiple times a day.
Yeah, multiple times.
I just hate it. I really do. But yeah, I'm glad Matt came on because I know there is a lot of stuff going on, and I know a lot of people tuned in, and there wasn't a whole lot of questions, but I think he answered a lot of stuff from Tennessee and Kansas, especially.
Yeah.
It seems like been a hell
Oh,
of a
the other
fight.
thing that he was talking about with no, that was Tennessee. He was talking about how they underestimated the fiscal note.
Yeah.
They
Well,
told
and that one advocate that's coming from Clarksville that owns her own little she owns a smaller kratom shop. And she was like a part of her thing was she pays like $40,000 in taxes to the state every year, and that's just her business.
Yeah.
Think about how much money that is combined that they're getting. That's insane to think about.
Like I know that, because the whole fiscal impact thing of banning it, I understand that that's, a huge talking point that Mac is going to go in with. I didn't know he was going next Tuesday.
I didn't
So,
either. God, I wish I could go. I just
but my thing, what keeps coming to my mind is how Marshall Price and
Yeah.
how Shayna Brown, their stories, what they went through because, kratom was illegal in our Arkansas and Alabama. Marshall Price lost his life over saving his life. And Shayna Brown is still looking at 10 to life for saving her life. I posted a video showing the difference 7OH and natural kratom extracts compared to what's available in the market and commercial. Oh, I have checked. Oh, I have to check that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Chris?
I don't know.
I think that's Chris. Is that you, Chris? I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just
Dude, look. Someone commented this on my TikTok last night.
I
And
do
I
too,
know-
Deborah. Deborah, you gonna go represent though. I appreciate it. You got to get a picture with Mac and send it to me though.
Michael, yeah, Shane, there hasn't been any movement in Shayna's case so far. And we bailed her out in December of 2023. There has been no movement.
It's crazy how long it takes. I mean, look at the whole scheduling of 7OH, like how long that's taken.
Yeah, and I want to believe that they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Like back in 2016 when they tried to emergency schedule kratom, they did it without they tried to do it without any scientific data and all that stuff, right? But I want to believe that the DEA is doing it the correct way this time so that they don't have egg on their face again. Oh, it is Chris. Okay.
Okay. I remember that happening, and I didn't remember because I don't know, like I have brain farts a lot.
Shayna Brown was arrested in when was she in April of 2023, because she legally purchased kratom in Florida and crossed over into the Alabama state line, and there was a DUI checkpoint, and the cop saw the kratom sitting on her seat or something like that. I don't quite remember the specifics. And then, so when we saw her case, we were like, "Oh my God!" You know, her bond was $1 million for having
$1 million. People were in there for like pedophilia and stuff like that, and they had like
way less bonds than Shayna.
Yeah.
But she had 250 grams of kratom, so her bond was $1 million, and there's no way that us in the kratom community would have been able to come up with that would have been 100 grand, you know? So she had to sit in jail for 9 months until the judge finally lowered her bond to $75,000. So we were able to bond her out, and we hired her a new attorney, you know? So she's been out on bond since December 2020. We actually took her to Washington, D.C. with us when we went to the congressional briefing in Washington in 2023. So in December 2023, it was like she was like shell shocked because she had just gotten out of jail. That's what
I was telling her. I was like, and you have like all these people that know who you are. You know what I mean? Like we've all been cheering for you behind the scenes and talking about you, making videos,
money, and sending her postcards and all that stuff. So she had no idea there was even a kratom community around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's still facing 10 to life.
Yeah.
And Marshall Price, he was in Arkansas. He legally purchased kratom in Missouri and crossed over into Arkansas, got pulled over for the license plate light was out or something like that, and the cop saw the kratom sitting on the seat as well, and so he got arrested, and he went through all the the trial and everything, and the jury wasn't even allowed to hear about how kratom was saving his life. Right? Was that part?
They weren't even allowed to know that it was kratom.
Yeah.
They just were allowed to know that it was a Schedule 1. So for all they knew, it could have been heroin or something like that. Like they had no idea what it was. They weren't allowed to know.
But when we read the court transcripts, they had like these freaking officers that were sitting up there explaining about kratom. So I don't know if they were allowed to. I don't think they were allowed. I don't remember now because it's been so long since we read the court transcripts. I don't remember the exact details. But anyway, so he gets sentenced in November of 2022. He gets sentenced to 10 years in prison. And then 3 weeks later, he was murdered in Greene County Jail, Arkansas, while awaiting his transport. He was murdered.
Yeah. I told that story to the rep's assistant because he said, let's be honest, if this is banned in Tennessee, not everybody's not going to magically stop taking it. How far would you have to go to get it? And I said, I'll be honest with you. I'm in Memphis. I live right next door to Arkansas. It's banned there. So I can't just drive it. I said, and let me tell you what happened to Marshall Price. You know what I mean? Like that was a senseless death, and nobody should ever have to go through that ever again. No family should have to go through that. I mean, tea leaves.
Yeah. Now his family has to deal with generational trauma, and I love Julian Price and her family. I truly do.
Yeah.
I freaking love them. So now there's a federal lawsuit, and they're set to go to court in February of 2027.
Yeah. It's like that has a big part of it, I'm telling you, but I don't know, like
the autopsy photos are forever imprinted in my brain.
That video is forever imprinted in my brain.
Same. I have that still as my pinned video on my TikTok account.
Yeah.
Because he supposedly got into a toilet paper and socks wrapped hands boxing match with another inmate. And then the other story was the sheriff said that he fell off his bunk bed.
And he had like a busted pancreas and stuff.
He had a 1-inch gash on the back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
He had a busted spleen.
That's what it was.
He had broken ribs. He was beat. Those are telltale signs of a beating.
Yeah. I mean, and he is begging for his life.
In that video.
I mean, nobody should have to go through that. Oh yeah, especially in Arkansas, man. They get free labor and everything. I don't even
Yeah.
know. It's probably like that here in Tennessee, y'all. I don't even know. I used to have a lot of faith in my state, but I don't really
Even
have it
recovery
anymore.
centers give out free labor in
Yeah.
order for you to pay for, bed and breakfast pretty much. You go out and work in these communities at warehouses and stuff. You get it's slave labor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, it's a horrible video, and like people, the prison guards are yelling in his face. He better talk. He literally can barely
The
breathe.
nurse, the
Yeah,
nurse,
and she's like, "You need to tell us what's going on. You're gonna go back to your bunk." And he's like, "I mean, oh."
he can't talk.
And you know what I keep thinking about every time I watch that is her. Julian has to watch that. His own daughter has to watch that. And that right there, man, I couldn't even imagine watching my daddy go through that.
His
Mm-mm.
last words on earth was, "Can I crawl?"
Yeah.
Because they brought a wheelchair up to his pod, his door, and his last words were, "Can I crawl?" Because after that he cannot speak, he cannot talk. You hear the I don't know, people were commenting on that TikTok saying that's that agonal breathing. You hear him circling the drain, so to speak. And so every time I send my emails, I include Shayna and Marshall's stories in it on why I oppose, scheduling.
Yeah. And it is kind of sad though the whole like slave labor thing cuz I have known a lot of people that's been through rehab and like probably having a job and getting like on their feet is probably a good thing while you're still in recovery. But it's like that one of those things it's like it was a good idea, but when it's implemented, it's like not it's
Yeah.
not good for the people running it because it's like the whole power thing. It's like, oh, we can do this for everybody. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's
And that's what I want these legislators. I want them to see it. I send them the video as well, or I send them the Newsweek article that includes the video. But I make sure to put trigger warning because you
yeah.
got to prepare yourself to see it, to watch it. And as much as like oh god, when we got the autopsy photos, as much as I prepared myself to look at them, because I talked to myself for like a good 15 minutes before I opened up that file, and I still was not ready for what I saw.
Mm.
It's not something that everyday, people like kratom advocates, should be looking at. It's, oh god.
That's just and to think about that's just one person.
Yeah, that's just people we know of.
Right. I tell you. But I mean it's like things like that while we do what we do. It's I don't know, so many reasons. It's so many reasons.
Hmm. And now we're facing all these bans because of 7OH. I am extra pissed.
Yeah.
I am extra pissed because
Every time, every day, at least once a day, I say it, even if it's out loud to myself. I hate 7OH. I hate
I,
it.
and I've said this before, I'm not a prohibitionist, but I support the scheduling of 7OH. I truly support it. And I don't care if that pisses you off, pisses them off, pisses they off. I don't care. Because they were pulled over in Florida for something, I think it was Florida, and they were charged with, possession and all of that. I wonder who that was. In Florida? If they were in Sarasota
If you're
County,
talking about Florida, if you're talking about the person that was pulled over in Florida, Shayna was pulled over in
Alabama.
Alabama, but she came from Florida.
Yeah, she purchased it in Florida and got pulled over in Escambia County, Alabama. And
Yeah.
Escambia County shares the county between Florida and Alabama. But yeah, her bond was $1 million freaking dollars.
Yeah. It can ruin a lot of lives.
I'm not stocking up. I'm fighting.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll fight till my dying breath. I do not care. Like, that's the thing. Like, man, I've fought my whole life, but this is for one thing. I'm not fighting just for myself. I'm fighting for every person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know. I said I was going to chain myself to the Capitol door, but I've been so emotionally roller coastery. I don't even know. I might just sit around and cry in the middle of the road
Yeah. And
because I'm just so mad.
I keep saying Jen would have to freaking raise money to bond you out if you chain
After I
yourself
told
up.
my husband, I was like, well, Misty's going to just fundraise, so you'll just have to come sign the papers. Oh, man. Yeah, I bet you they were talking about Shayna.
Yeah, they're most likely talking about Shayna. But then there was also another guy in Arkansas that it was a moringa powder. Remember that story?
Yeah, in Arkansas.
Yeah, the guy had moringa powder.
And he
And
was in jail for 6
months.
months so they could
Test
test
it.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? He lost his house. Like, he was living out of his car or something like that.
Yeah, he was a homeless guy.
Lost everything. Thank you, Deborah. I know you will.
Did it Indiana? No, Indiana hasn't regulated it at all. I don't know what's stalling over there in Indiana. I don't know. It's expensive to hire lobbyists.
Yes.
Like it is so. We went down the rabbit hole the other, like I don't know, last week or something, a couple weeks ago, trying to figure out, because the AKA needs money for lobbyists and travel and time and all that stuff. So we went and looked up like the federal lobbyist is what's really expensive.
Oh, Deborah, we got
Yeah.
you. We got you. Well, Indiana almost got there.
Almost.
Just kind of like Arkansas.
Yep. Yeah. They really thought it was they charged him with kratom, but it was actually moringa powder. But it took them 6 months to test it.
And it don't take no 6 months to test. Get the heck out of here, man. I hope he has a lawsuit.
I'm pretty sure it does. I haven't heard anything about it since then. Other than I knew the attorney was the one that was posting up about it.
Kelly, I don't know if since you're back, I don't know if you heard the part. Max said he was going to be in Tennessee on Tuesday. I don't know if you heard that part. Yeah. I don't know, man. I tell you, I think if I was rich, I would I'd do a lot of things. I don't know. There'd already be like a federal KCPA because I'd pay off so many people.
Well, I don't know. The science speaks for itself. So you don't.
Well, you gotta like pay people to like make people listen to the science. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, you have to know somebody to get their foot in the door so that you can show them the science.
Right.
And it's so infuriating, dude. It's like, it's so ridiculous.
Last year, Jen and I went to Arkansas at the Arkansas State Capitol, and Julian's family came out there and other kratom advocates as well. We were trying to overturn the state ban. It's extremely, extremely hard to overturn the bans once they go into place.
Yeah.
But we didn't win that fight because someone from the Department of Health got up there and testified and said that the governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, would veto it if it came across her desk. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, you're really listening to word of mouth like that?
Yeah, that was cool. I'm glad that we got to do that.
Yeah.
man. Oh, I meant to ask him about Washington. I forgot about that.
Oh, DC? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming up, you guys. They're going to do an advocacy fly-in. So whoever your favorite vendors are or what have you, ask them to sponsor you to go there. I remember Mac talking about the other night on the webinar about, I guess it's extremely hard to get a hold of Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy as well. So I know that Secretary Kennedy was the one that was able to stop Governor DeWine in Ohio from scheduling Kratom. So I don't know how that came about, honestly. I don't know who got to his ear, but that was a freaking miracle. So we need him to do it. You know, we need him to do it for Kansas. We need him to do it for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., where you at, my boy?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, since Saturday is my only free day to live stream, FYI.
Yeah.
Because we are swamped Monday through Friday at hearings. My daughter just got off work. She's probably taking a nap right now, but we're going to get up off here because I'm going to go do my chores and stuff before she wakes up.
Yeah. But thanks everybody for joining us. And if you want to know what Max said about Kansas or Tennessee, once this is over, rewind it. Yeah.
Just rewind.
And if there is a full ban, we just keep fighting.
Yeah, just keep fighting. I don't know. I will never tell somebody.
No, it's never over.
Yeah.
Forever. If there's enough of us that can keep our voices being heard, it's never going to be over. Like if you just sit down and let it happen, I mean.
If there's anybody in Tennessee that's doing podcasts, reach out to them. Get your voice, get up there on them podcasts. You know, if there's an investigative journalist in Tennessee, email them. Get on record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit down and just be quiet. Yeah, not until the fat lady sings, and I ain't singing yet. That's all.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, everybody. Thank y'all for coming.